Welcome to the Let's Talk Basic podcast, where girls talk about everything basic.
Join us as we sit down with a glass of wine and see where the conversation goes.
Kick back,
relax,
and get ready for the ultimate girls' night in.
I'm your host, Joanne.
And I'm Vanessa.
Hey, welcome back to this episode. I don't even know if it's this week's episode of Let's Talk Basic. We are officially back. I don't know if I can say officially either. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cling. We're still virtual. The coronavirus thing is still a thing.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just have to do this for a while. Which, isn't terrible. I think.
No.
I think we've adjusted pretty well. God, when was our last episode?
I honestly don't remember. It's been a while. I want to say a couple months ago.
It must be at least. I think it was July, so it must be
It was July the 5th, was the last episode that we both did together, and it was about Canada Day.
Oh my god. So now we have just passed Remembrance Day. So, it's been a while. It has been a minute.
So, what have we been up to, Joanne?
Honestly, the reason I think why we took the break in the first place was because work got so crazy in the summer for the both of us. And trying to do this podcast and work at the same time was just a lot. And I think the summer was also about trying to get out as much as possible and doing, I don't know, whatever we were doing. So I think for me, Ty and I, we went to the cottage a few times. We kind of did a lot of day trips here and there. We went to Prince Edward County. Yeah. I think it was just trying to go out and be at a patio whenever we could. How about you?
Well, looking back at, the last episode that we did was probably, like you said, it was early July, so we would have probably recorded the week before, so it was June. And at that time, now that it brings back a lot of memories, we were just launching Color to Conquer at work. And I must have been. That seemed like a really long time ago. I mean, it is. But now looking back at it and actually looking at the calendar, that was probably why I'm I can't do this right now. It was insane because I think we were both trying to adjust to our new normal and being at work, and everything was basically just changing all the time, right? You were trying to, do an event and everything was, what's your plan B? And I don't have any more plan Bs for you. So it was just constantly changing, and the ideas were never concrete. And for an event planner, that's really scary because usually we plan things months in advance. Promotions would be, pretty much set in stone, weeks in advance. The communications would be out, PR is ready to go, launch is ready to go, but having to do everything virtually really caused a lot of stress and a lot of creativity as well, to do something that was never done before. So now that I look back, I'm so glad that that's over. And a lot of things have changed since that, and even work, right, has changed. I have a completely different role at work right now. The color program has basically folded into another program at work, and I work on a brand new program called Ride to Conquer Cancer. Something that I don't think I would have worked on voluntarily. But never signed up for it, but with COVID and everything, everyone in the office and at the workplace has to, kind of shift and adapt to the new workplace, and everyone pretty much has a new role. So I'm just happy I'm employed.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this new program, but another thing has changed. Should we tell them?
I guess so. I guess everybody, we've kind of been going through, obviously, as Vanessa said, some changes. And I think today we really want to focus on Vanessa's big change. So, Vanessa, go ahead and let the people know.
Yeah. So, I got engaged during quarantine. Yeah. So that's something new. It happened end of September. So I feel like I'm still in shock. Sometimes when I look at my finger, I'm like, oh, I'm engaged. That's kind of funny.
So,
and then, okay, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, how big is your ring? I feel like that's always, describe this ring to us.
Well, I think it's what I asked for and what I wanted. It's a oval shaped ring. It's oval, and it has diamond band. That's how I would describe it. It's pretty simple. I'm sure I can show you guys a photo on Instagram if you want, but that's pretty much it. It's
pretty
oval
big, guys.
with diamond band. I like it.
It's very beautiful. He did a good job.
Thank you.
Especially, I think we were talking about how he was not into the whole buying a ring thing. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to know he's come around and got you a nice big ring.
I was actually, so during quarantine, obviously I've been staying with him. And then one of the things that I would always be frustrated about is telling my friends, honestly, I've been with him 24/7. I haven't seen him look at a ring or even remotely, do any kind of research. I'm I don't think it's happening, guys. But little did I know, he actually told me that he had the ring since February.
Wow. So pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID, he had the ring ready to go. And then, this entire time, no wonder he wasn't looking at rings, because he already had it.
So what was he waiting for? Did he have a specific date in mind that he was waiting for? Or was he waiting for, a specific moment? Why the delay between February to September?
So COVID, obviously stopped a lot of different people's plans, and he was wanting to propose in July, so summer. And he was waiting actually because one of my best friends from Hong Kong had a trip planned to come back to Toronto, and he would have really liked it if she was going to be a part of it. But unfortunately, because of COVID, she couldn't come back. Not that she couldn't, but she would have had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and it really wouldn't have made sense for her to come back. So he waited a little bit longer, and I think there were 3 kind of months that I thought that it might happen. The first one was July. The second one was October, because his birthday's in October. And then the last one would have been December.
Mm.
So I knew that, it was going to happen this year. I had an inkling, we talked about it, and it was within our plan that it was going to happen this year, but not really sure of the execution. And with COVID, anything could happen. And I feel in the summer months, I'm maybe he's still going to do it in the summer months. And every time we would go on a bike ride, I was maybe it's this time. Maybe I should do my hair a bit nicer. And there were other things that I'm maybe it's today. But I definitely had a gut feeling about the day that he planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you mean by that?
So usually, so there are some days that I still go back to my condo, and make sure that everything's okay there. But he usually wouldn't care when I go back, and he wouldn't usually ask what my week's plan was. But that week, like specifically, he was really interested about what my plan was for the rest of the week. So I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'm overstaying my welcome at his house and he needs some space. So I was like, he just came down on Monday, like when I was at my work area, and he was like, hey, what's your plan this week? I'm like, I don't know yet, right? And he's like, well, you should figure it out. I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah. So he's like, you don't have to tell me right now, but, you know, you should tell me. And I'm like, okay, well, like, so I, like, did some work, and then I think the plan was that we had originally planned that I would go back to my house on Tuesday. We would, I don't know, and then we would have a date night on Friday or something like that. So I was like, okay, like, that sounds good. And then all of a sudden, I changed my plans on him. I was like, so anyways, my friend is going to come over on Wednesday. We're going to hang out in the backyard. And then I'm actually not going to go home this week. And then he got mad. You know, it was really weird. He got mad at me. He's like, you can't change your plans like that. This is, you know, you said you were going home on Tuesday. And then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? If you're going to be upset about me going home, then I'll just go home. It's totally fine. So I thought that was a little weird because that was very uncharacteristic of him to,
yeah, blow up at you.
Yeah, get angry at something like this. So I went home on the weekend. I think it was Sunday. We had breakfast, and then he was going to drive me home. And then a mysterious package from FedEx came at the door, and he was like, "Oh, what is this?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, what is this?" Right? So he opened it, and it was a Tiffany's box. And I was like, "Oh." Like, and I was like, why did you get a Tiffany's thing and send it to yourself? Because it was addressed to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is funny. But I also knew he wasn't going to buy me like a Tiffany's ring. So I'm pretty sure that it wasn't an engagement ring there. But anyway, so he opened the box and it was this beautiful necklace. And I'm like, still weird, because why are you buying yourself a necklace? Like,
why would anybody get him a necklace either from Tiffany's?
So I thought that was really weird. And then we were both trying to, like, find a note of some sort to see, like, you know, who sent it or whatever. And then he found the note, and he read it, and his face basically turned blue. And then he took everything, and then he slowly walked upstairs without saying a word to me. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. Anyway, so he drove me back to my condo. Two of my friends were actually coming over that day. And then we were chatting. I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell you guys something. This really weird thing happened. So I explained the entire story to them. And I'm like, I think he's gonna propose or something. And then my two friends were like, no way, like you're crazy. And then like I looked at them like, are you lying to me? Are you two lying to me right now? And they're like, yeah, we're lying to you. So these two people clearly knew. And at that time I had like really terrible nails. They were like completely chipped. It was like it was disgusting. So I should have like cued in at that time because one of my friends went into my bathroom to grab nail polish remover and started rubbing my fingernails.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you did not catch on at that point.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. Because they played it pretty well. They were like, no, like, you know, like, it's just like, because they said that it was my friend in Hong Kong that was sending me a Christmas present, and it just came early or whatnot. And I'm like, early? I'm like, it's September right now, guys. Like, Christmas is in December. I'm like, that early? And they're like, yeah, you're just overthinking. Don't worry about it. Wow, this other friend is rubbing my fingernails off. So I was like, okay, they could be lying, or I could be overthinking. So, you know, I went along with the day. And then my friend came over. We hung out on Wednesday, and I told her the story as well. And then this person, we're on a patio on King Street, and then she heard the entire story, started laughing, and was like, so, want to get your nails done? And I was like, oh, so you think so too. So the next day, when we had our date night, I was like, you know what? Let me just get, like, everything done. Just in case.
Yeah.
Right? So I went, and we were going to Blue Blood. So it's at Casa Loma. It's a pretty, like, fancy steakhouse. So I'm like, okay, well, I was going to ask him. So I was trying to see that, like, if he would give me some clues. So I wanted to wear, like, jeans and a top, which was really, really casual. So I gave him two options. I'm like, hey, like, what are you wearing today? I'm thinking, you know what? Scrap the romper. I'm going to wear these jeans and this top. And then he's like, I don't know, man. Like, the jeans and the top looks kind of weird. He's like, you should wear the romper. So that was kind of like the first one of the other clues, because he usually could not care less about what I wear.
Yeah.
Like, every single time I ask him, he's like, looks good. And I know for a fact he didn't even look at me. So that happened. And then the day of, he came to pick me up, and he was like dressed up. And his hair was kind of, when I say done, it was like, you know, kind of brushed. I was like, okay, something's going on. Like, maybe I'm right. Like, maybe it's today. But I figured that he might do it before dinner, so that we can actually enjoy dinner. Mm-hmm. That was my thought, right?
Yeah. So
we went early. We were walking around Casa Loma. Didn't happen. And then we went to sit down. And then at that moment, I was kind of relieved. I'm like, okay, this is not happening.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the moment has passed now. Like, we're done. So I'm like, great, I'm eating and I'm getting drunk.
Yeah.
I'm like chugging wine and like having a great time. And then before we left, like, we were in the car. I was like, oh, like, you know, let's open another bottle of wine when we get home. Like, what can we watch on Netflix? I was like actually planning like it was not going to happen. Like, I was convinced that I was wrong. And then right when we pulled into the house, we have a garage that's detached. So when you go through the back alley, it's the garage, the backyard, and then the house. Okay, so we pulled out. He like backed into the garage, and he did a terrible job backing in. It was like completely diagonal. I'm like, what is going on? And then I kind of knew right then and there, because he did such a bad job parking, because he didn't want me to see everything. And then the string lights at the backyard were like lit. And usually, because he's so Asian, like that wouldn't have happened, because it would have, you know, wasted a lot of electricity. So that's when I kind of knew that this was going to happen. And then right when I walked in, like 3 of my friends were there filming. And then he also had our parents on Zoom. So then that's when it happened. So that was September.
So cute. Yeah. So do you remember like how he kind of went on one knee, and like what did he say to you?
I think he said something about quarantine. Like, oh, like, you're my quarantine partner or something like that. Like, honestly, at that moment, I'm sure you can relate as well. Like, when Tyler got on one knee, I'm not sure, like, if you remember anything.
I have no idea what he said. Like, no clue. I was just, like, trying to absorb everything going on.
Yeah. So I don't quite remember what he said, but it was something along the lines of like quarantine partner and like, well, I think that was the only thing I remember, actually.
Looks much better than me.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he got down on one knee and like did the whole thing. I said yes, and then we continued the celebration and continued to get more drunk. So I had like more champagne. He had oysters ready. Like he did a really, really great job. Like in terms of like planning the little details. Like he had string lights along the backdrop and had all of our photos, like from the beginning of our relationship until now. We had flowers ready. Like I just thought that the Zoom thing with our parents were like was such a great touch because obviously they can't be there because of COVID. But I feel like everything was really, really well planned. And but I would say like the number one question, and I'm sure you get that a lot as well, is, oh, like, how does it feel now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, oh, like, how does it feel to be an engaged woman? I'm like, the same. I'm like, I wish I could give you a different answer, or I'm not sure if people are expecting a different answer, but it really does feel the same.
Have you had any opportunity to call him your fiance yet? Because I think that's when it really, like, when you have to introduce them and you can't say this is my boyfriend anymore, or like even in conversation when you're talking to somebody, you can't really say like, or you could say, but you don't say my boyfriend anymore, and you have to like stop and be like, my fiance.
I haven't yet because I feel like we really haven't been out.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone that we would have over or talk to are all like, you know, close friends and family, and I don't have to introduce him. So,
yeah, true.
I haven't had to do that yet, and I would like to avoid that because it's a very weird word.
It is weird. It really is. I remember, I think when I said it, I was on a work trip, and that's why. And it was kind of like people, like we would just hang out for, I don't know, the week. So you're trying to get to know people and like whatever, connect. And like I had to keep stopping myself and being like, my fiance. And then eventually I was just like, I'm just going to tell you his name because it's really weird. Yeah. But yeah, like I guess you don't get really that opportunity to like now because you're not really talking to anybody. And really, like, no, you're not giving anybody updates like that of your life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also feel like I haven't really told anyone except for my close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, like, the immediate people that I work very closely with at work know, but, like, you don't get that opportunity to actually see anyone or talk to anyone around the office that you don't work with.
Yeah. Right?
So that opportunity, like, to share your story and everything, doesn't really come up. And I actually think it's good. I think it's good for me because I find it really weird to also kind of repeat the same story over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like, it's been great so far. It's been the same.
Yeah.
But now I feel just like more entitled when I ask him to do something. I'm like, you should be doing this. Like, you wanted to marry me. This is what you signed up for.
You're like, you should know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like have a bone to pick with him because I wasn't invited to the engagement. And I was watching the video and he's like, look, all your close friends are here. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, not.
I actually, so once I looked at everyone on Zoom, and then I had, you know, a moment to like sit down. We were enjoying our champagne and oysters. The first thing I did ask, and you can ask my 3 friends that were there, I'm like, did you tell Joe and Ty? And he looked, he was like, He was like shocked. He was like, oh, no, I did not. And then he's like, oh my God. And then I'm like, and this is the time when all my friends were trying to post like all the photos that they took. And then I'm like, stop it. I'm like, let me tell Joanne first.
So glad.
Yeah. And then I told you first, and then they were allowed to post.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, that would have been so bad. And then he kept like to this day though, he's like, oh man, like that was my fuck up. And I'm like, and then he blames it on my friend in Hong Kong. He's like, she fucked it all up because she got me all nervous like a week before this was supposed to happen. And I was like, it's fine.
It's fine.
She forgives you.
It's fine, but I'm gonna like hold that over his head for a while, I think.
Fair enough.
But it was funny because I remember you messaging me about after the Tiffany box, or the Tiffany delivery.
I did. I totally did. I thought you were lying to me.
I was like, for sure he's proposing soon. But I knew that, like, I can't say that to you, so I'm just like, no, it's not. No, you're totally delusional.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought you were also lying to me. I thought everyone was
I mean, I was lying to you, but I had no idea that it was like, I knew that it was gonna happen soon, but not for, like, certain because he told me, but it was just because it was so obvious that it was about to happen. Like, why would he get a Tiffany box and suddenly just like be like, oh, it's just a gift, I'm just gonna walk away now. Like,
yeah.
It's just so bizarre. And then I remember you freaking out, like, the day of, I think it was the day of that, you guys were going on a date night, like, it's gonna happen soon. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, I was like, trying so hard to convince you that it's not. And
I think you and a couple people were like, no, like it's gonna happen when you guys take a trip to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And you're going to Vancouver the week after.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, like, he's obviously gonna do it at Vancouver, like, obviously. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this. He's not the kind of guy that would do it on a trip. But I guess everyone was just lying to me.
But I remember being like, I should message Kenny, or I should message your fiance to be like, hey, like, what is the plan? Like, I want to know. And now I'm like, damn it, I should have. Why didn't I message him? Because it was that night.
Oh my God.
I'm like, always trust your gut at the end of the day. That's the story. That's the moral of the story.
And then also, like, that same day that my cousin randomly messaged me. Like, my cousin and I, like, don't message each other every single day. But for some reason, he messaged me on that day. And then he asked me, he's like, hey, like, when are you getting engaged? And then, like, I showed him my finger that day. Like, I took a photo of my hand. I'm like, you know, and there's a ring on it. And then that night, I, like, took a photo of my hand. I'm like, well, I told you that I would tell you when this happened. So it happened. And he's like, what the fuck? We just talked about this afternoon. And I'm like, yep. Like, that happened.
So, like, obviously in hindsight, like, the clues are very obvious.
Yeah.
But I guess going through it, like, were you still like, what are the things that you're like, wow, I was so blind, or like I was so dumb to not realize it?
I think, I mean, I saw all the clues that everyone else saw, but for me, it was more like I had to prepare myself that it could not happen. Yeah. Right? I don't want to set myself up to be like, okay, this is the day and he's going to do it, and then he actually doesn't do it, then for me to get upset about that. So I think as the person who's, you know, the person who's going through the experience, it's always nice to not be 100% like certain.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you kind of know, like if you're in that space where you're like, I think it's gonna happen, like 80% it's gonna happen, and then 20 no, like play along with it, right? Don't go crazy and like start asking like very specific questions, because you're gonna ruin that surprise for yourself.
Yeah.
So the fact that I feel like I had a clue, and then I was like participating and not like asking him a ton of questions, kind of made the experience a little bit better. And I also feel like it made the experience better for him.
Right.
Right? Because he's on the back, in the back, like trying to orchestrate this.
Yeah.
And the last thing he wants is for you to like ask questions and like, oh, why can't I stay here? Why are we going here? Can we switch restaurants? I don't want to eat this anymore. Like, the last thing he wants is someone to ruin his plan. So if you think it's going to happen like 60 to 80%, like just play along with it, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, participate, enjoy it, and just enjoy the moment. And don't overthink it. Is what I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think for me, I remember like when I was going through the process, like that day he was like, you know, get ready because we're having a photo shoot with like my family and we need to clean the house. Like, before you get ready, like, you have to clean the house. Like, and I was like, okay, this is so neurotic, but sure. And he was on the phone the entire day. Like, nobody calls this guy ever. But all day he's just like, yeah, I was just like making phone calls. Like, my concierge at the condo was calling him, and I was like, what the hell? And like, I had no idea. Like, those things, I'm like, I should have clued in, and it should have been like a bigger deal, but it's just when you're kind of like, I think I was also super oblivious. Like, at least you had a clue. But yeah.
I think for your experience, what I really enjoyed the most was basically lying to you every single week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Tyler created this group chat with myself and one other of Joanne's friend. And I think when that chat was formed, the only things that were written on there were like just heart emojis, because like, you know, like that the combination of the people in that chat, you know what's going on. So
yeah.
I was over the moon to be involved in it, and I would give him updates every week when Joe and I would, you know, gather to watch The Bachelorette, and she would sit on my couch like, Bee, I don't think it's happening. And you would say the same things that I would say to you. It's like, I haven't seen him look at a ring at all. Like, he hasn't been doing any research. And you were like, I took his phone one day and he just let me. And like, I could have been looking at things and he just didn't care. So like, you're like, there's just no clues that he's doing anything at all. Well, at the back, like, he's obviously like orchestrating everything. And, you know, asking us about, like, advice in terms of, like, how to get you to dress up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then, you were so funny. I was asking all these weird questions. I'm like, what would be your engagement dress? And you would have one ready. And then, like, your other friend was, like, trying to get you to do your nails, like, in time. And it was just like this whole thing that, you know, we were just lying to you for months. It was the best time of my life. It was so much fun. And then when we got ready, like, for your surprise engagement, like, everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it did. And I did remember you lying to me for those months. Like, in hindsight, again, I should have known. So when you were asking me, and, like, I was, like, remembering that feeling. I'm like, I cannot, like, give it away. I have to play it so cool. Like, what would I say? And it's so hard in that moment to be like, what would I say if I actually didn't know? which I didn't know, but I still, like, I truly believe that it was gonna happen anyways. But, it's, it's definitely fun being, I'm just gonna say I'm in on it because I feel like I knew that it was gonna happen. Or, like, at least just watching, like, your reaction to, like, going through the process and, like, finding out all these clues and, like, freaking out about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I was totally freaking out over it.
yeah.
I feel like I played it pretty cool on the day of. Like, I wasn't asking any questions. I was just kind of going along with it. But, yeah, like, I'm happy that it happened. But, so one thing that I guess surprised me is that I really thought that my parents would be more happy. Like, I've
Sorry,
always
I was just
imagined, like,
drinking.
you're watching all these movies and you're like, oh my god, like, the mom and the daughter are just, like, crying and, like, like, your parents are, like, extremely happy. My parents are like, how do I get off the Zoom thing now? They're like, off.
This is cutting into my TV time.
Yeah.
My tab is like, it's on right now.
And then it's like his parents like didn't even go on camera.
Oh my
It's just
god.
like, so it's like, like,
Yeah.
and then I had dinner. Yeah, the day. So, I think a week after, we had dinner with my parents, and I have this, thing in my head. I'm like, oh, my parents are like gonna hug me, and they're gonna be like, oh, I'm so happy for you, and then they're gonna like show me your ring. None of that happened. My dad was late for dinner. Like, my mom and dad were sitting there, like, didn't even look at me when I came in.
Oh
they're like, oh, hi, you're here. And they're like, and then they like push me the menu. Like, oh, like, what do you want to eat? Like, like, this is not the treatment.
Please order for us.
Yeah, like, why is there no balloons? Where's the flowers? Like, what is going on? Why is dad late? Like, this is insane.
It's just another day. Just your daughter is engaged and about to get married now. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
They're like,
no
what
big
do you
deal.
want? Like,
Yeah.
do you want the chicken or do you want the fish? Right? And then they're like, I guess we could order the lobster. And then, like, here they order, my dad comes, and then, like, it's like, oh, how's your day? And I'm like, ask me! I'm like, ask me how my engagement was. And then, like, finally, I had to ask my mom and my sister, like, do you want to see my ring? And my mom's like, oh, yeah, show me. And then I'm like, you guys are horrid people.
What was the reaction?
My mom's like, oh, it looks pretty. And then, like, my sister is like, oh, that looks nice. Like, it was so unenthusiastic. It was terrible.
Asian parents, man. I feel like we need to do another episode about that. Just
like, seriously, like, what is going on? And then, like, the only nice thing that they, like, said or mentioned was, like, my dad, like, cheersing my fiance. It's like, oh, thanks for taking care of her. And then they're like, well, I guess we'll get dinner today. And then after that, I was like, okay, bye. That was
it. So, okay, how long in advance did they know about this? Like, I'm assuming that he asked for permission.
Oh my god, this is another Asian moment.
I love it.
He asked my parents separately the week before.
What do you mean separately? Like individually? Like his dad? Your dad?
Individually.
Oh,
So
okay.
he called my mom and then he called my dad.
Okay.
So number one, oh my god, it's so Asian. This is kind of embarrassing. So he has my sister's number. And my sister she's young, but like, she's not that young. She's like 20 years old. And, but she's very, like, skeptical about everything, and I don't know where she gets it from, because I'm totally not like that. But Kenny, I said his name. My fiance asked, Kelly, my sister, if he can have my parents' number. And my sister saw his text, and thought that it was sketchy, and then she ignored it. Because she, in her mind, she's like, why would you ask me for my parents' number when you can ask my sister? She's like, this is sketchy. And so she ignored it.
How could it be sketchy? Like, what could she have possibly thought what it could have been other than an engagement?
No idea. So, like,
you need to find that out from her. Like, I'm super curious.
I don't know. Like, anyway, so she ignored him. And then he finally is like, oh, I'm going to ask your sister to marry me next Friday. So I just wanted to give him a call. And my sister read it, and she's like, oh, okay. And then she sends the two numbers. Like, number one, like, what is wrong with her? Like, why is she so skeptical? Like,
yeah,
no one has cheated her in her life. She's had the perfect life. Okay?
Seriously.
What is going on in the world?
Your homework for next week is to figure out what the hell she thought when he first messaged her this.
I can't believe he's like, and he's always been nice to her. Like, why would you think he's sketchy? Okay, weird. And then, so my mom, so he called my mom first. I called my mom on a Sunday. It's like, oh, like in Chinese, he said it like, hi, auntie, this is
me.
Hi, auntie, it's me. Like, I just want to let you know that I'm gonna ask your daughter to marry me next Friday. She's like, okay. She's like, I guess it's okay. I'm kind of busy. Can you call uncle? That's exactly what my mom said to him. Oh my god.
Wait, so did he ask for permission, or was it more like he just told her?
No, he said, like, hey, I'm planning to ask your daughter to marry me on Friday. Just wanted to let you know and see if you have, like, see if you're okay with it. And then her response was, oh, I guess it's okay, but I'm kind of busy. Do you mind calling uncle?
Oh my God.
Bad. Like, seriously, so bad. And then he's like, okay, I guess I'll call uncle.
Yeah, okay.
Calls my dad. And he was like, hey, it's me. Like, planning to ask your daughter to marry me on Friday. Are you okay with it? My dad was a lot warmer. Because my dad was like, oh, yeah, sure. Thank you for taking care of her. And then hangs up.
He hung up?
No, like, I think, like, he was already warmer. Like, he was like, yeah, great. Like, sounds good. Like, thanks for taking care of my daughter. Like, cool. Like, that's it. Like, there's nothing else to talk about. So, he told me that, like, conversation was really short. Your mom was confused, and your dad said yes.
Oh, man.
I know.
So funny.
What was Ty's experience with your parents? Do you remember?
So they went out for dinner. Like, he formally invited them out for dinner.
That is so cute.
And
like, did your mom and dad feel weird? Like, why are you asking me to dinner?
No, so I guess they immediately knew what that meant.
Oh my god, and they still gave him the time of the day.
I know. And apparently my dad came prepared with, like, a speech to him. Like, he, I don't know if you remember at the wedding, my dad was talking about how, like, when he got married, he, like, they didn't have any money, and like, they couldn't even pay, like, the rent for their place, like, the apartment at the time. And, like, the point of the speech was, like, love is about, like, marriage is about love, and, like, not about other things like money and things like that. Anyways, so, like, my dad came to this dinner prepared with, like, a photocopy of
Oh my God.
his rent increase letter from his landlord and like repeated this story to him apparently as a way to give his blessing, and then gave like Tyler this letter.
That's so cute. Tyler loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, like so extreme. Like that must have been such a long, like knowing my dad too and having like no buffer to be like, okay, stop, somebody stop him. You know?
Her mom's probably just sitting there nodding.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. My dad just like drones on, and like Tyler's probably just like, yes, like I have to be respectful because I'm about to like ask for their daughter's hand in marriage.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, but they seem like I saw them like before we got engaged. The day before there was a wedding, and like my parents were invited to that wedding as well, and they were, I guess I should have known, but they were very huggy. Like that day they were just like, my lovely daughter. Like they kept hugging me. But so
you know what was really funny, so now thinking back as well, is I actually, so my fiance told my parents on Sunday, and I actually called them on Monday, so the next day, about like very random thing. I'm like, hey, can you get me that blanket at Costco, the down one? Like, it was like, because we needed like a new winter blanket, so I was like calling them about it. So I was calling mom about it. I'm like, hey mom, you know, like, where did you get Kelly's blanket? I really like it. I think I need one. Next time you go to Costco, can you buy it? And like, you know, my mom's lovely, but like she was extra lovely that day. She's like, oh yeah, like for sure. I'm like, okay, just get it. Like, there's no need to, you know, no need to do all of this. And then she was like, oh, by the way, your dad's iPhone cracked or something. Like, do you have a new phone? Blah blah blah. So I was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I can give my phone to dad, no problem. So I called my dad, and then she's like, hey, and I'm like, whoa, this is too much. I'm like, I heard your phone's broken. I'm like, I have a new phone for you. She's like, yeah, like, thank you so much. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually not that busy right now. Like, do you want me to like bring it up to you like on Thursday? I can bring up like anytime. And he's like, no, don't worry. Like, just bring it whenever you can. And they were like so nice about it. And I think now, like thinking back, I'm like, oh, they were probably really happy because he just called them yesterday.
Yeah, like they're processing the news now, and now they've entered into joy.
Yeah. Yeah. But so the ironic thing of this entire story, because the first person who actually knew about it was my sister in my family, and she was super sketched out. But on the day of the engagement, when she was on Zoom, she was actually the first one who cried. Actually, the only one who cried. Compared to my mom and dad did not cry at all. But my sister just like tears.
Oh.
And yeah, so that was kind of funny. Like, you thought he was a sketch bag.
Yeah. I think my first question to you when you told me was, did you cry?
No. Like, so the two questions that you get asked after you get engaged is, how does it feel? And did you cry? And did you know? And my answers are always like, I did not cry. I always feel bad about saying that. Like, I'm like, I didn't even come close to crying. I tried, I feel. Like, I almost tried crying.
I feel like I just laughed. I just laughed in his face. I feel like there's so many emotions that like I can't imagine like crying as my first one.
Yeah, crying it's not really a thing. Like, it's not sad, it's a very happy moment.
Yeah.
Did I know? Yes, I knew. I feel like I definitely knew something was going on, and then yeah, it feels completely the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on that note, what's next for you guys?
And then that is a question that follows as well. I think with COVID and everything that's happening right now, we haven't set anything in stone quite yet. But I will say that I do have some sort of like an idea of what I think we want to do. And it really kind of depends on any like health guidelines and where we're at with the whole COVID situation come 2021. But I think that we would like, ideally, to do two things. Like one, a little bit more of a traditional, like Chinese restaurant wedding where we invite like our parents, our relatives, and literally like just maybe max 2 table of friends, like one like his side and then my side of friends, and that would be it, and then just all relatives and parents. And then hopefully if everything pans out, we would love to throw more like a house party of sort to celebrate with our friends. We've been to so many weddings and they've all been great, but I think we want to do things a little bit more our way. And I feel like a house party with like catered food and like a lot of fun games would be more appropriate, like with our like personalities and stuff like that. So I think that's what we're leaning towards. But I'm always open to suggestions. So I'd love to know, even like with you, like what are the things that like after having gone through the entire process of planning a wedding, being on wedding day, and then post-wedding, like, what are the moments that you're like, you know what, if I had to do it again, I would like, you know, some people tell me that it's kind of like, you know what, don't spend so much on video. Or, you know, they're like, you know, get the best makeup artist and get the best photographer, because those are the kind of like the moments you relive and you can see again. So, yeah, like, I'm open and love to hear what you have to say, because you've definitely gone through it.
I love like that idea of having a house party, and like I love the idea of just kind of like keeping it intimate. I think like we tried to keep it pretty small, but it was still like 200 people. And
was it 200 people?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
We like maxed our venue out.
Uh-huh.
But I think and it was great. Like I loved it. But
so fun.
I think like the one regret is like I didn't get enough time to like hang out with everybody. So definitely like try to get as much time to hang out as much as possible. And like, cause that's the fun part. That's the party part, right? And then I think personally for me, like a lot of people when I was wedding planning, they told me like, you know, don't spend so much money on this. It doesn't matter. It's just one day, blah, blah, blah. I think in hindsight for me, I'm like, oh, we could have spent more money. Like, I wish I like went for it, because it's like, that's your day. Like, I kind of wish like I didn't like cut back so much. And like, I feel like I did.
Which areas though?
Like I don't know, like anything that I would have wanted it on. Like one of the things that I thought like I spent the best money on, it was like a couple $1,000s on cheese. And it was like the cheese vendor I had where they roll like
the
cubes
maple
of
syrup.
cheese.
Was that one?
Yeah, in maple syrup, and it hardens around it. It was like, that was like one of my favorite parts of my wedding. And it was like definitely a splurge. But I loved it.
Your snack bar, like at the end of the night, was also excellent because it had all my favorites.
Yeah, it was our favorite foods of Domino's Brooklyn style pizza and McDonald's fries.
Yeah,
like just kind of do everything that you want to do, because when else are you going to? I feel like I should have splurged. Maybe like I was trying to keep my like dress budget really tight. I'm like, maybe I should have just gotten a dress that I like really loved and like spent more money on that. Because it's true, like you only wear it for a day, but it's also like that's the only time in your life you'll ever get to wear a dress that you truly like can splurge money on. So why not? But like I think it matters differently to different people. Like some people are like, I wish I didn't spend money on my dress, or I didn't spend money on whatever. It's like whatever you feel you want. I didn't splurge on like, I don't know, like flowers really. Like I tried to keep it pretty simple, and we were really lucky to have like a family, to have like Christina, who we've had on the podcast before. Her family or her mom was a florist, so we were lucky to have her kind of help us out, and she, like, with our budget, she did an incredible job. But yeah, things like that. Like I was like, the flowers are gonna be beautiful. Yeah.
But like honestly, I'm like literally taking notes from like every single one of my married friends who've been through this. Every single one has a tip. Like someone gave me like the number for like a seamstress, like who could alter your dress for really cheap. And another person was like, you know what, like I've done all the research on people who do like makeup for a wedding, and like she's really good and was, you know, on budget and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm happy that everyone else did it first, so that now I can just kind of pick and choose
Yeah.
from every bride that I know, and like take the best, and you know, and stay on budget. I think for me, like I think things I would splurge on is makeup.
Yeah.
Like hair and makeup for me is like, look, you're going to take tons of photos that day. It's like makeup, hair, photography. I think those three things I would definitely, you know, spend on. I think in terms of wedding dress, it has to just, I don't really, it's not really about the price. I think it's more like it has to feel like I have to feel like myself when I'm wearing that.
Yeah.
So it could be really expensive. It could be really cheap, but like, I don't really have a preference for that. It's more like, I just want to feel like myself and look nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop, but for anyone out there, other brides, who have gone through the same things, or if you also got engaged during COVID, please let us know, because we're going through this together, and I'd love, you know, to have someone go through it with me, and maybe we can share wedding tips.
Yeah. I'm sure this was not going to be the last time we talk about it. So
definitely won't. It'll be something that you're like, oh my God, can they stop talking about it now?
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that you guys were up to speed. And obviously, again, like, so much has happened and so much has changed since the last time we had a podcast episode. So, we're so excited to like get to share this and finally say Vanessa's finally engaged. We can stop talking about when the hell is it gonna happen.
Well, it's here, it's happening, and I'm excited to share everything with you guys, and let's cheers to that.
Cheers, congratulations. Woo.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Let's Talk Basic podcast. For more exclusive content, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Basic.